Hello everyone, I'm MVL and today we're going to be unboxing the Super Retro-Cade. Now MVL, you may say, you idiot, you have already unboxed a Super Retro-Cade, and whilst you are correct, that was the UK version and this is the American version. The American version 1.1, which you see right here. Now the 1.1 is an upgrade from the original model. And this precedes the UK version as well. There are some differences in the packaging. I will actually show you the difference here. So here's the American version and here's the UK packaging. Of course there's the different age rating there, and there's some differences on the back as well. And also the UK version has some extra games, but the main thing the UK version is missing is the ability to add your own ROMs for the NeoGeo and the arcade ROMs from use of MAME, the multiple arcade machine emulator. That has been removed from the UK version, but it is present on the American version. Specifically the American version 1.1 adds the ability to have the NeoGeo and PC engine. Now to be fair, the UK version can still run all of the ROMs for things like Nintendo, Game Boy, Super Nintendo, Sega Master System, Sega Mega Drive, Game Gear as well, and the 1.1 also adds the PC engine and of course the NeoGeo, and you can run MAME arcade games as long as they are compatible with the version on this, which is quite an old one. And but you know, it's not the reason I bought the UK version to play MAME games and NeoGeo, but it certainly was an enticing factor, and I wasn't aware that it couldn't run them, so I grabbed this American version and I'm going to unbox this, and I will also show on this video how you add your own ROMs. Some of them you may have to change the file extension, particularly with the Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advanced games, to get those to work properly, because the Game Boy Advanced uses a different emulator. You're best off changing the file extension for that. But yes, let's open this up. So very cool box, opens up right here so you can see more of the games featured in this package. Lovely packaging. Now the UK version did not include a power adapter. This one will, I believe. We're often shortchanged over here in the power region for power adapters for like mini systems and plug and plays. But yes, this one should. In fact, I will be using the UK power for this version. The UK one comes with like a USB power supply, so I will use that. Anyway, so let's open this up. We'll open this up and get to the contents. Now I can also show the difference of the console itself, the plug and play I should say. You get everything in here. Alright, so here is the instructions manual. Shan't really be needing that. Here is the system itself. Now I can show the difference between this and the UK version. It's very minor. By the way, I do love that there is a composite video out as well as HDMI in case you do want to play it on an old school TV. But there's minor differences with the console for the UK version. Obviously no physical difference, but you can tell from the PEGI age rating that this is the UK version. And I would probably say, even though it has extra games, the inferior version. So you've got your USB ports on front, 2 of them for 2 controllers. It comes with 2 controllers, which is very nice. Very cheap kit as well, so that's pretty awesome. And on the back, as I mentioned, you have your composite video HDMI, you've also got your power, and the SD card where you can add your extra games. I will be showing how to do that on this video. You've got 2 controllers right here. They are okay. They look like they're somewhat modeled off Super Nintendo controllers. I'm actually not going to open this controller itself. Here's one I made earlier. They have a very long cord, as you can tell, which is pretty awesome. So you can put the plug and play system far away from your monitor or TV and still be able to use it. But this is from the UK version, exactly the same controller. You've got your start and select, which are used in the menu functions and in the games, of course. And then you have your buttons here and your D-pad, and then 2 shoulder buttons. A 6-button controller. It's okay. You can use other controllers with the system. There used to be a compatibility guide on the website, which is no longer there, for it was from a blog post, but it's no longer there. So I guess try other controllers with it. I've tried my RetroFreak controller with it. It does work, but the buttons are placed differently, but you can fix that in the menu. But yes, this controller is alright. There may be better controllers that work with this, maybe a actual Super Nintendo themed controller, styled controller, but this is okay for now. So you get two controllers with this, which is pretty good for your multiplayer games. You also get, in the American version, specifically, you get an AC adapter. You did not get this in the UK version. I do, however, have this power plug to USB that came with the UK version, and I will be using that for this, which it will be fine with. And of course you also get your HDMI cable. I have a million HDMI cables, so I have no need of that. But yes, let's plug this thing in and get ready to check this out. Okay, so here we are on the main menu of the Super Retro-Cade, and I really love that music, and this has a ton of games on it. Now the game selection that is included is certainly worth it by itself, but I will also be showing you how to add your own game files to this later in the video as well. I had previously done a review of the UK version, which could do PC Engine, like the version 1.1 could, but this version, the American version 1.1, unlike the UK version, can also do MAME arcade games and NeoGeo games, and I'll be showing you how to get them working as well. But there's a ton of games on here. I'll also show you a couple of functions, but let's have a look at the games. You have 1942, 10-Yard Fight, 1943, The Battle of Midway, Act Fancer, Cybernetic Hyper Weapon, and Air Duel. You also have Armed Police Unit Gallop, Armored Warriors, Bad Dudes vs Dragon Ninja, Bionic Commando. So many games. Bionic Commando the arcade version, Blade Master, Boogie Wings, Buggy Popper, Burger Time, and here you have Captain Commando, codename Viper, Commando, Congo's Caper, and Dark Lord. You also have Double Dragon 3, the Rosetta Stone, Dragon Breed, Exciting Hour, the Pro Wrestling, XZ XS, some fantastic games on this thing, Fighter's History, and there you have Final Fight 2, and Final Fight 3. Here you have Forgotten Worlds, Ghosts and Goblins, Ghouls and Ghosts, Gunsmoke, Hammer and Harry the arcade version, Heavy Barrel, Holy Diver, which is fantastic to get that on this, by the way, Image Fight, Joe and Mac. Holy Diver is translated on this version as well, it's in English. Joe and Mac 2, Joe and Mac Returns, Joe and Mac Caveman Ninja, Ken Go, Kickle Cubicle, fantastic game. Kid Nicky, Radical Ninja, Kid Nicky, Radical Ninja 2, Knights of the Round, Legend of Heroes Tonma, Legendary Wings. You also have Magical Drop the arcade game. It's cool that you get some regular versions and arcade versions on this as well. Magical Drop 2, Major Title Golf, Mega Man 2. Now the UK version actually has extra games as well. It has Mega Man 1 on it. The version 1.1 of this system is missing Cobra Command, but you can just add those games back on with the added game function. Mega Man 3, Mega Twins, Mercs the arcade version, Midnight Resistance, Mighty Final Fight, Mr. Heli, Mutant Fighter, Mystical Riders, Ninja Spirit, Pirate Ship Higamaru, Renegade, Rocky Rodent, R-Type 2, those ones were added for this version I believe, R-Type 3, The Third Lightning, Secret Agent, Section Z, Sidearms, Side Pocket, Son, Street Fighter 2010, Strider the arcade version, Super Birdie Rush, Super Burger Time, Super Dodgeball, Super Ghouls and Ghosts, Super R-Type, Super Side Pocket, the Combat Tribes, Three Wonders, Thunder Blaster, Trojan, Two Crew Dudes, Varf, Operation Thunderstorm, Vigilante, Wizard Fire, X Multiply, Zippy Race, and as you can see there's very few filler. It's all killer in this selection, which is really awesome. So I will show you a couple of functions. One a little annoying thing is for most of the games you will probably have to change the settings so that it does not run on full screen. So here's the options you get in the options menu, as you can see here. And one thing you'll probably want to do is change the default from full screen. You don't want to play these games in widescreen, you want to play them in the original resolution. Turn it to original size. I'm just going to show you how bad it can look. And then you have some controller options here. I've tried different controllers. My Retro Freak controller actually does work, but the buttons are reversed, but you can change the controller input there. I should say that the B and A buttons are reversed. And then there's some other sections here. Video smoothing for the console games. By default it's turned on. I'm not a fan of this. I'll show you how Holy Diver looks with all of the options I don't like, which would be, I like that you get some extra information about the games here as well. So this would be with smoothing on and widescreen. It is disgusting. But, you know, if that's your thing, you know, I do actually like that they have the widescreen option because the system has composite video output available. And it's start and select to get the menu function here. So you can change things. You can even change the button mapping during the game as well. You actually have composite video output on this thing, so putting the games in widescreen would mean if you put them on a CRT TV with a 4:3 aspect ratio that does not have the ability to change it itself, it would show up in 4.3 as you want it to, which is pretty cool. So let's put these to how I would like to see them. The original size and the smoothing turned off. Not a fan of that smoothing. And then we can see the game looking far better. Look at how much more crisp the text is without smoothing. It's like you've taken some Vaseline off of the screen. It looks a lot better. Alright, there you go. Now I think I've still managed to launch the game in widescreen somehow. So let's return to the main menu. Yes, I did not click on original size. There we go. But you could see there with the smoothing turned off, it looked a lot better. And now, especially in the correct aspect ratio, it looks much better. There you go. All right. So really awesome that this game is on this. Retrobit also released this game to the rest of the world as a cartridge as well, Japanese exclusive originally. For the Famicom, so very cool to get that. Let's go back to the main menu now. So one bit of a pain is that you will have to change the aspect ratio of all of these games yourself, but one more thing I want to show you is how to add your own games. So let's take a look at that. Okay, so we are looking at the SD card here. You will need a folder called Retrobit Games. That is where your ROM files will be put into. It must be called Retrobit Games for the system to recognize them. Inside of here I have put the ROM files as you see them here. Now different ROM files will have different file extensions. I will go into a bit more detail of that. But everything I have thrown at this thing does work. Now you may notice here that I have image files in here as well. So to make the image files work, they must be named exactly the same as the game file, but with the word game with no space directly afterwards, and then they will show up. They also must be PNG files as well, and fairly small as well if you don't want the system to slow down. Now for Mega Drive games here, they need to be .bin files. I was able to just change the file extension at the end to .bin from any other file extension, and it still worked. I also tried to use my RetroFreak ROMs for my own cartridges on this system, and that didn't work. But I was able to find ROMs for the games that I have, and they did work. So just about everything I've thrown at it works. Mega Drive and Genesis games do work, you just have to change that file extension. PC Engine games also work on version 1.1 and onwards, which is pretty cool. Now NeoGeo games do work on this version, and you do have to leave them zipped. For NeoGeo games you will also have to have the BIOS file inside of the folder as well. Now I tried different files for the BIOS until I found one that worked. I can give you the version of MAME that this is using. Specifically, it is MAME for Droid version 0.139U1. And you would need to find the correct BIOS file for that. You need the BIOS file for NeoGeo to make the NeoGeo games work. And then you put the NeoGeo games in exactly the same way as you would put MAME games in this. You leave them zipped. And I can't rename them because then they won't work. And all of the NeoGeo games I tried booted to a black screen for a little while until they loaded as well. Of course, the NES games did not need changing. The file extension for those was fine. Game Gear games can stay as .gg, and that works perfectly fine as well. Now, for the Game Boy games, you will need to change the file extension to .gb. Even if they are Game Boy Color games, you will need to change that file extension as well. And for Game Boy Advanced games, I would recommend doing so as well. There is a Game Boy Advance emulator on this system, but I found that it ran slower than the Game Boy emulator. So you're better off just changing the file extension for your Game Boy Advance games to .gb as well. But yes, very cool that lots of systems work on this. Nintendo, Super Nintendo, don't need to do anything about them. Mega Drive, of course, changed the file extension. And then you have your Game Gear and Master System. They work fine. And then PC Engine also works on this. And then, of course, MAME files, arcade games, and NeoGeo will work on this as well. Of course, you need the BIOS for NeoGeo. And you may notice here that on this Windows computer, the files are all in alphabetical order, which is how it will work on a Windows computer. But on the Super Retro-Cade, they will not be in alphabetical order because it doesn't really understand that. So if you want to put them in alphabetical order, you'll need a program like Drive Sort to organize the SD card so that the Retro-Cade can recognize them in alphabetical order. Now, of course, that might not be that helpful because things like the MAME files, you can't really rename them. Normally on something like an emulator, you might find that it would take the actual title rather than a zip file, but that's not the case for this. So maybe in that case you might want to have the thumbnail be the title to organize them correctly. But I digress. Yeah, so they will appear in a sort of random order when you put them into the Retro-Cade. That's not really a big deal for me. I won't be using these for anything except NeoGeo and arcade games. And you can use something like Drive Sort to put them in the correct order. I've also found that if you put the files into the SD card one by one, the Retro-Cade will recognize them in the order you put them in. And that's a pretty painstaking way to do it, so I recommend using Drive Sort to get this in the correct order. Anyway, let's check out the RetroK side of this. Now I'm going to put in the SD card to the system right now. And when you do that, depending on how many games you've got, it might take a little while to recognize that. But then you can go from local storage, which is the inbuilt games, to the SD card. And then just take the SD card out if you want to go back to regular games. But we will go to the SD card here. And as you can see, I put a bunch of games on this thing. From the Game Gear to the Master System, to the Mega Drive, to the Genesis, to the Famicom, to the NES, to the Super Famicom, to the Super Nintendo, from the Game Boy to the Game Boy Color, to the Game Boy Advanced as well. I also have PC Engine and TurboGrafx 16 I've tried on this, which is really awesome. I've also put MAME arcade games and NeoGeo games on this as well. And I can tell you that they all work. You have to do a couple of little things, as I explained on the SD card menu, to make them work. For the Mega Drive games, you must change them to .bin files from the file extension. The TurboGrafx games worked just fine. So did the NES, and so did the Game Gear games, as did the Super Famicom games. The Game Boy games changed the file extension for the Game Boy Color, and the Game Boy Advanced games to .gb, so they will play a little differently. And then of course you had the MAME arcade games. Put them in as zipped files. They work just fine. And for the NeoGeo games, you have to put them in as zipped files, but you also need the BIOS to make them work. It took me a little while to figure that out. So just to prove that these work, here's Arrow Flash. This is a European version like the cartridge I have. And if we load this up, it will run just fine, as you can see here. Now, I actually don't have much of a need to run these games. That looks disgusting because it has gone in the wrong aspect ratio. As I mentioned previously, you do have to change the games to original size to make them run correctly. But once you do that, the game will look a lot better. I don't have much use for anything outside of MAME arcade games and NeoGeo because I have a Retro Freak. But it is certainly very cool that you can run them off this system. It is a very inexpensive system as well. So let's go back to the main menu. Of course, the Genesis games work just fine, as do the Mega Drive games. The TurboGrafx, let me remember to change to the original size. Games work just fine, as do the PC Engine. Very cool that these work. So just as an example that they do run fine, here you have Blazing Lasers. It is a fantastic shmup, and that works just fine. Of course, for the Mega Drive games, you need to change that file extension to .bin. So for your Mega Drive and your Genesis games, change your file extension to .bin and they will work. Same for your Japanese Mega Drive games. There's Ghouls and Ghosts there. NES games work just fine as they are. There you go, and it's in disgusting widescreen because I haven't changed the I haven't changed it. As I previously mentioned, you have to change this to the original file, and then these will work fine. The Guardian Legend, absolutely fantastic game. Absolutely fantastic game. Very much a hidden gem. This game is fantastic. Just to show you that they do work, here you go, little footage of the Guardian Legend. Really fast at the start of the scrolling as you dodge these rocks. And then you get into some shmup action, but this game also has platform elements to it as well. Fantastic game. So just to show you that works, let's go back to the main menu. You have your Game Gear games also work. Now the colors on these games are sometimes a little bit off, as is the screen size a little bit, but other than that they do work. So this is a perfectly doable way to play these games, which is cool that they are available on this system. So these, of course, as the other games, do work perfectly fine. It is very cool to be able to play these games on this system. This is a very neat added feature that they added in here. Get that extra firepower. Watch out for the comets. The crazy comets. This game is fantastic, by the way. Haley Wars, very much recommend it. If you haven't tried it out, it is very enjoyable to play this kind of game. Oh, we exploded. Alright, back to the main menu. And then the Super Famicom games work just fine. So the Game Boy games is Pokemon Red. Of course I started off in the wrong screen size again. So here's Pokemon Red in the original size. There we go. And these work perfectly fine as well. Now they will run in black and white. I've muted the game audio here because of Pokemon may have copyright on the music, but as you can see here, the Game Boy games do work perfectly fine, but they are in black and white, and there's no option for like Super Game Boy or anything like that. Super Game Boy borders or colors. Super Famicom games, of course, run just fine again. Yet again, I have forgotten to change the aspect ratio to the correct one, the original size. Bit of a pain that you have to do that manually. But as you can see, the Super Nintendo games work just fine, as you can see here. So that's awesome. Most of these games I'm just going into the menu to show you because obviously the gameplay works just fine as well. So there's that. And then you have, I will get this one into the original size correctly. Power Strike here for the Master System also works fine. Now the Master System, again, I'm not sure about the screen size or the colors, but it seems to be running well enough. Very cool to be able to play this. There's also shmup on the Retro-Cade. Oh, we exploded. I keep exploding! Stop exploding, you coward! And then of course for the Game Boy Color, you have to change those to .gb files to make them work. The file extension, that is. But they do work. And they will play in color. So that's very good. Despite the fact that the Game Boy games play in black and white, you have no option to play them as if they were on a Game Boy Color. This game is fantastic, by the way. Absolutely fantastic. This is a amazing game. I very much recommend picking up the Ninja if you haven't checked it out. Yeah, this game is absolutely fantastic. If you haven't already checked it out, I very much recommend it. It is pretty awesome. And it's great that you can play these kind of games on this system as well. Alright. So, with that in mind, go back to the main menu. Now, the PC Engine and TurboGrafx-16 games work just fine. Game Boy Advanced games, I recommend changing the file extension to .gb again, like with the Game Boy Color games. But they will work with the regular file extension. I feel like the game speed will not be correct if you run them on the Game Boy Advanced emulator, because it runs very slow. But if you change the file extension to .gb, for the most part they run just fine. And they run as they should do, and they run a lot faster as well. So that's good. And it's still really awesome to have the ability to run these games on this system, which is pretty badass. And it's really cool that this system is so cheap and has so much compatibility. It's a shame they removed some of that compatibility from the UK version, but as I mentioned, I just went ahead and got this American version for that reason. Now the Famicom games run just fine, and that brings me on to the arcade games. Now, the console games, I have copies of all of these games. The arcade games, I do not have a full arcade in my own home. So this was really part of the attraction to getting one of these systems. Not having that ability to have these games on the UK version was very disappointing. But having that option on this American version 1.1 was very awesome. The 1.1 has a little faster processor as well, so it's a little more capable. So here's Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. I wasn't able to change the file names of the zip files for the MAME games, otherwise they wouldn't work. And these just run, for the most part. You may have to find the right ROM that does work. You might have to try different ROMs. But I was able to get these to run fine. The MAME games have a border if you click the original aspect ratio. That's a sacrifice to be able to play these games. I could not figure out how to get MAME to work myself regularly, which is why the system helps so much. Select as credits, of course, so that you can play the game. And then this, as you can see, runs just fine, which is awesome. Very cool, very cool. Teach me a lesson, will you? I'll show you that. On top of the building we fight. Throw him into the barrel. Barrels are fun in this arcade beat 'em up game. The dynamite. Oh, this game's so awesome. Throw the guy against the wall. There you go. Alright. As you can see, that works perfectly fine. And then I also put a TMMT on this as well, trying out some of the arcade games. I will be using this just for arcade games and NeoGeo. And speaking of NeoGeo, we have some NeoGeo games here. I put Blaze Star and Top Hunter on this. I did have to search around for the correct files that would work. Some of them did not, some of them did. Change that to original size right here. And also for the NeoGeo games, you need to have the BIOS file. Again, I had to search around for the right file that would work, and that was in relation to the version of MAME that was on the system, I believe. So I did have to do that. These run through MAME as well, you just need that BIOS file in there, in the Retrobit Games folder. And every one of these I have tried, the ones that did work that is, they boot up to a black screen initially as they begin, and then they will load up. Very strangely, it looks like it's glitching out, but it does load. And the version of MAME on this is MAME for Droid version 0.139U1. And of course, as I mentioned previously, you can use a program like DriveSort to get these games in the correct alphabetical order. There, here you go. This is a NeoGeo game playing on the Super Retro-Cade. Let's insert some coins into this thing. Very cool. And we will get into the action.
Get ready.
Let's do it. Stage 1. Very, very cool to be able to play these kind of games. The NeoGeo and the MAME arcade games are specifically the games that I wanted to try out on this thing, because that is what I don't have access to. Very rarely have I seen a NeoGeo anything in my area, in my neck of the woods. And specifically, arcades are very, very seldomly found these days, at least in my area. We used to have a bunch of arcades, but no longer. There you go. Nice, nice. Especially for looking for the exact games you want, finding arcades is very difficult. So having the ability to play these games is really awesome on this system. Couldn't get my head around MAME on the PC. So definitely wanted to get something that could play them. And this game is awesome. Being able to play this is absolutely fantastic. Well, anyway, guys, there you have it. That is the Super Retro-Cade. As you can see, runs everything I throw at it. The big one's closing in. Let's see if we can do this. It's closing in. That's a big one. So there you have it, guys. We have a good one here with the Super Retro-Cade, the American version 1.1. Just remains me to say, if you liked the video, be sure to leave a like or a comment to let me know what you think, and don't forget to subscribe for more awesome content. And if you'd like to, you can also support me through Patreon or YouTube channel membership. Thank you for watching. I've been NVL, and I will catch you next time. You beat it! Your skill is great! Haha! Well, thank you for watching. I've been NVL, and I will catch you next time.